What if the divine did not arrive with thunder or light, but quietly, almost playfully at your doorstep? And what if, in a moment so small it barely feels like a mistake, you lost that presence forever? Samsara Sagas presents Padmanabhaswamy, the god who would not stay small. Long before the grand structure of the Padmanabhaswamy temple stood in quiet majesty, there lived a devotee known as Vilvamangalattu Swamiyar. He was not a king, nor a man of worldly power. His life was simple, almost unremarkable to an outsider, but his devotion to Lord Vishnu was anything but ordinary. It was said that he did not merely worship the divine, he experienced it, not as an idea, not as a distant force, but as something living, present and close. And then one day, that presence took form, not as a radiant god, not as a vision of cosmic grandeur, but as a child. The boy appeared without announcement, bright-eyed, restless, and filled with an energy that refused to sit still. At first, the sage received him with warmth, even joy. There was something about the child that felt unmistakable. Beneath the mischief, beneath the laughter, there was a quiet certainty. This was no ordinary visitor. This was Vishnu. But what begins as delight doesn't always remain so. The boy did not behave as one might expect of the divine. He laughed during prayers, wandered through rituals as though they were games, and reached for offerings before they were even made. What was sacred to the sage became, in the boy's presence, something constantly interrupted. And yet the sage endured, patiently at first, then carefully, and then with effort. It was around this time that the boy turned to him almost casually and said, "I will stay with you, but only as long as you never lose your patience with me." It sounded simple enough. After all, what was patience to a man who had spent a lifetime in devotion? But the condition lingered in the air, not as a rule, but as something deeper, almost like a warning. Days passed and the boy's mischief only grew. What had once felt playful now began to test the very edges of the sage's composure. Still, he held on, until one day in the middle of his sacred ritual, one that required absolute focus, the boy disrupted it again. And this time, something broke. The reaction was instant, almost involuntary. A sharp word, a raised voice, a moment of anger that lasted no more than a breath. But it was enough. The boy fell silent. There was no anger in his eyes, no disappointment, only a quiet knowing. He smiled gently and said, "If you wish to see me again, come to Anantankade." And just like that, he was gone. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was heavy, with the weight of realization. In that fleeting moment, the sage understood what had happened. He had not driven away a troublesome child. He had lost the divine. What followed wasn't a journey, but a search born of regret. The forest of Anantankade was vast and untamed, its paths uncertain and its depths unforgiving. The sage wandered through it, calling out, searching, holding on to the faint hope that he hadn't lost what could never be replaced. Days seemed to blur into one another, and with each passing moment a question began to surface, one he never imagined he would ask. What if he never found him again? And then at last, he did. The boy stood before him once more, as if he'd been there all along. But this time something was different. There was no mischief, no movement, just stillness. And then without warning, the transformation began. Not gradually, not in a way the mind could follow, but beyond measure. His form expanded, stretching past the boundaries of the forest, rising beyond the sky itself. What stood before the sage was no longer a child, but the infinite made visible. Lord Vishnu, in his cosmic form, reclining upon the endless serpent. It was a sight that could not be taken in all at once. The sage moved, trying to see, understand, but no matter where he stood, the whole remained just out of reach. The head lay far beyond where the eye could hold, the feet stretched beyond the horizon, and everything in between felt like an entire universe contained within a single presence. It was overwhelming, not because it was vast, but because it was impossible to fully comprehend. In that moment, something shifted within him. the divine wasn't meant to be grasped in its entirety, not measured nor contained, only experienced. Falling to his knees, the sage spoke with a humility he had never known before. "How do I worship you like this?" And in that question lay surrender. The infinite responded. The form softened, drawing inward, not into smallness but into something the human eye could approach. And yet, even in this gentler form, the truth remained unchanged. Even today, in the sanctum of the Padmanabhaswamy temple, the deity cannot be seen in a single glance. One must move, observe in parts, the feet, the torso, the face, each revealed separately, never all at once. It's not a limitation of the temple, it is a reminder that the infinite, no matter how close it comes, can never be fully contained. And so the temple was built, not merely as a place of worship, but as a memory of that encounter, of a moment where devotion met impatience and learned too late that even the smallest lapse can carry the greatest consequence. Perhaps that's what this story has always been trying to say. Divine disguise. The sacred doesn't always arrive in forms we recognize. It often unsettles before it reveals. Today we may overlook what matters most simply because it doesn't look the way we expect. Fragile moments. What we lose is not always lost over time. Sometimes it slips away in a single instant. In a fast, reactive world, one unguarded moment can cost us something deeply meaningful. Partial truths. Some truths are too vast to be fully understood. They can only be experienced in parts. In a world that demands certainty, we must learn to sit with what we cannot completely know. This was Padmanabhaswamy, the god who would not stay small, a tale from Samsara Sagas. While the story ends here, the journey continues within you.